Welcome to the channel. This is Vocab Waves.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Vocab Waves, where we learn English naturally through real conversations about real life. I'm Adam, and I'm really happy you're here with us today.
And I'm Sara. Thanks for joining us. I always enjoy these conversations because we talk about everyday problems that seem simple on the surface, but often have a lot more going on underneath.
And today's topic is definitely one of them. Why am I so awkward around new people?
Especially when you actually want to make a good impression.
Exactly. I'm completely normal around people I know. I can joke, disagree, tell stories, and even say something embarrassing without thinking too much about it. But put me in front of someone I've just met, and suddenly my brain stops cooperating.
Like today.
Please don't remind me about the weather question.
I wasn't going to.
Your smile says otherwise.
Okay, maybe a little.
But seriously, why does that happen? Why can a completely ordinary conversation suddenly feel like an exam?
I think one major reason is that we become extremely self-conscious. We're no longer just talking to another person. We're also watching ourselves while we're talking.
Yes, I'm thinking, was that answer okay? Did I talk too much? Was that joke stupid? Do I sound nervous? What am I supposed to say next?
And there's a useful expression for that. Hyper-aware.
Hyper-aware?
Yes, it means being extremely aware of something. Sometimes so aware that you start noticing every tiny detail. When you're hyper-aware of yourself, you may start monitoring your voice, your facial expressions, your body language, and even your pauses.
So instead of actually being in the conversation, I'm standing outside myself and watching myself have the conversation.
That's exactly how I would describe it.
And honestly, that sounds exhausting.
It is. Think about everything happening in your head. You're listening, understanding, choosing your words, responding, and at the same time, judging how you're coming across.
So I'm doing too many things at once.
Right. And once you start focusing heavily on your performance, the conversation stops feeling spontaneous.
Performance. That's interesting.
Because sometimes we treat meeting new people like we're performing on a stage.
That's true.
We think we have to be funny, intelligent, confident, interesting, relaxed, and perfectly fluent all at the same time.
That's a ridiculous job description for a 5-minute conversation.
Exactly.
I think first impressions make this even worse.
They can. We tend to give the first few minutes too much importance.
We act as if one awkward sentence is going to define us forever.
Yes. You say something slightly strange and immediately think, that's it, they think I'm weird.
And then you spend the rest of the conversation trying to fix the impression you think you created.
Which brings us to another useful phrase. Put yourself under pressure.
Meaning you create extra pressure for yourself?
Exactly. Maybe the situation itself is simple, but you tell yourself, I have to impress this person. I can't let there be silence. I need to say something clever. Suddenly, you're not having a conversation anymore. You're taking a test.
And if it's a test, I'm scared of failing.
Right. But here's something we often forget. The other person may be nervous too.
That's so easy to forget.
Very easy. When you're insecure, you imagine the other person is completely confident and carefully judging you.
While they might actually be thinking, do they like me?
Exactly.
So maybe awkwardness is sometimes just two nervous people trying to look confident at the same time.
That happens more often than we realize.
Okay, let's talk about small talk, because that's probably my biggest problem.
Why don't you like small talk?
Sometimes it feels fake. You talk about the weather, traffic, coffee, work, and I'm thinking, where is this conversation even going?
I understand that, but small talk isn't necessarily meaningless. It's often a way of easing into a conversation.
So it's like a warm-up?
Exactly. You don't start exercising at full speed. You warm up first. Socially, small talk can do something similar.
So I don't need a deep question immediately.
Not at all. You can ask something simple like, "How do you know the host?" or "Have you been here before?"
That's much easier.
And you don't always need to invent a topic from nothing. The environment is giving you material.
That's actually a really useful idea.
Here's another expression: break the ice.
I know that one, but explain it naturally for everyone.
To break the ice means to make a first interaction feel less tense or uncomfortable. A simple question, a light comment, or a small joke can break the ice.
So if I'm at an event and I say, "This place is much busier than I expected," I've created something the other person can respond to.
Exactly. You're opening a door.
But what happens after the ice is broken? That's where I usually get stuck. I ask one question, they answer, and suddenly I have nothing.
Then listen carefully to the answer.
I know that sounds obvious, but I probably don't listen properly.
Most people don't when they're nervous. They're already planning their next sentence.
Guilty.
Instead, listen for one detail and pick up the thread.
That's a nice phrase. What does it mean?
To pick up the thread means to take one part of what someone just said and use it to continue the conversation.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Imagine someone says, "I went hiking last weekend."
Okay.
You don't need to suddenly invent a completely different topic. You can ask, "Where did you go?" They answer, "About 2 hours from here." Then you ask, "Was it worth the trip?"
So the other person basically gives me the next topic.
Exactly.
That's probably one of my biggest mistakes. I think every sentence has to be interesting.
And it doesn't.
Really?
Good conversations are rarely built from one brilliant sentence after another. They're built from small moments of attention.
I like that.
There's also a difference between being interesting and being interested.
That's powerful.
If you're trying to be interesting, you're focusing on yourself. If you're genuinely interested, you're paying attention to the other person.
So curiosity can actually make conversation easier.
Exactly. It takes some of the pressure off you.
But what about the fear of saying something stupid?
You have to leave room for imperfection.
Easier said than done.
Of course. But think about your own conversations. When someone makes a small mistake, do you remember it for the rest of the day?
Honestly, no.
Then we should remember that other people probably aren't keeping a detailed record of everything we say.
That's true.
We often overestimate how much attention other people are paying to us.
I might replay one awkward sentence for 3 days while the other person forgot it 3 minutes later.
Exactly.
That explains something I do all the time. The conversation ends, but my brain keeps going.
That's the overthinking part.
I replay everything.
Why did I say that? I should have said this instead.
Exactly.
But once the conversation is over, you can't rewrite it. A more useful question is, what can I learn from that? Rather than, how can I punish myself for it?
That's a much healthier way to look at it.
And it's practical, too.
Let's talk about English, because I think this becomes even harder when you're speaking a language you're still learning.
Absolutely.
Because now I'm already nervous around the person. And I'm also thinking about grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, and my accent.
Exactly. You're not just having a social conversation anymore. You're monitoring your English while trying to sound natural.
And that's when I freeze.
Which is why I don't think English learners should chase perfect sentences during real-time conversations.
What should they do instead?
Communicate the idea first. If you forget a word, explain it another way.
So if I forget the word commute, I could say, the time I spend traveling between home and work.
Exactly. You found another route.
That's a good skill.
It gives you a flexible mindset.
Flexible mindset?
It means you're willing to adapt instead of getting stuck when something doesn't happen exactly as planned.
So if the perfect word disappears from my brain, I don't panic. I explain the idea differently.
Right. Communication isn't about finding the only perfect sentence. It's about getting your meaning across.
That's important.
And honestly, that's closer to real fluency.
Because fluent people make mistakes too.
Of course they do. They just keep going.
I think learners sometimes believe fluency means never making mistakes.
But real fluency is often the ability to recover when something goes wrong.
I like that definition.
Me too.
Now let's talk about awkward silence.
Your favorite subject.
I hate it. The second nobody speaks, I assume the conversation is dying.
Why do you think silence feels so uncomfortable?
Because I feel responsible for fixing it.
That's interesting.
I think, say something, anything.
But a short pause doesn't automatically mean something is wrong. The other person might simply be thinking.
So I don't have to fill every second.
Exactly. A few seconds can feel enormous when you're nervous because your attention is focused completely on the silence.
That happens to me all the time.
Take a breath. Let the moment breathe. You can also return to something the person mentioned earlier.
And if the conversation really isn't working?
Let it end naturally.
Really?
Not every conversation has to become a friendship.
That's another expectation I put on myself.
You don't have to win someone over.
Explain that one.
To win someone over means to gradually make someone like, trust, or support you.
So I don't need to win a stranger over in 5 minutes.
Exactly. You just need to have a decent conversation.
That takes a lot of pressure away.
It does.
I think we're getting closer to the real problem now.
What do you think it is?
Maybe I'm not always bad at talking to new people. Maybe I'm trying too hard not to be bad at talking to new people.
I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Because the more I try not to be awkward, the more I monitor myself.
And the more you monitor yourself, the less naturally you respond.
It's a loop.
Exactly.
So how do we break that loop?
Lower the stakes.
Meaning,
Stop treating every new person as someone you have to impress. Treat them as someone you might enjoy getting to know.
that's a completely different goal.
And a much easier one.
I also think I need to get comfortable with not knowing what happens next.
Yes, you have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That sounds like a motivational quote.
Maybe, but it's actually useful.
Explain it.
Social confidence doesn't mean you never feel nervous. It means nervousness doesn't automatically control what you do.
So confidence isn't the absence of awkward moments.
No,
It's knowing I can survive them.
exactly.
That's probably the biggest thing I learned from today.
What changed?
I thought I had to become confident before I could have a good conversation. But maybe confidence comes from actually having the conversation, surviving the awkward parts, and realizing nothing terrible happened.
That's it.
So next time I meet someone new, I'll ask one simple question, listen to the answer, and stop trying to create the perfect impression.
That's a great start.
And I will try very hard not to ask them whether they like weather.
Please don't.
Fair enough.
But honestly, remember this. You don't have to be fascinating, perfectly fluent, or completely confident. You just have to be present
And curious.
and curious.
If you enjoyed this conversation, give the video a like and share it with someone who gets nervous around new people, especially if they replay every conversation afterward.
And if you're new to Vocab Waves, subscribe to the channel for more natural English conversations about real life.
And tell us in the comments, what's hardest for you when you meet someone new? Starting the conversation, keeping it going, or dealing with awkward silence?
We'd really like to know.
Thanks for spending some time with us today.
And remember, you don't have to be perfect to connect with someone.
We'll see you in the next conversation.
Bye, everyone. See you soon.